Hi babes, Lexi Lecturer here. How the hell are you? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you like fashion videos, beauty, lifestyle vlogs, self-help tips, then make sure that you click that subscribe button because that is what I'm about over here on my channel and I would love to have you. So for today's video, I figured it would be really good to do an updated brow routine for thin brows. It has been a hot minute since I've done one of these videos. I think my last one was over a year ago. This is for my thin eyebrow girls out there who just want to have some thick bushy brows. I got you, sis. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications, and give this video a big ass thumbs up if you like it already. All right, let's get into it. So this is what my brows look like without any makeup on them. They actually are tinted. I want to say I tinted them about a week ago. So for the sake of the video, we are going to clean up the brows and just shape them up real quick. It makes it a lot easier when you are creating a shape, since that's essentially what we're going to be doing today. First thing I do is I take a little spoolie and I just make sure that all of the hairs are brushed up and back towards the end so that any little stragglers are in place where they should be and I'm not shaving anything that doesn't need to be shaved. Then I just take my little brow razor. You can pick these up at any drugstore really, but I'll link some down below for you if you are more of an Amazon gal. So all I'm gonna do here is just close my eye. Sometimes I'll take my finger here and just lift up so I can get a cleaner shave. And I just start cleaning up in little sections. You can always do more, but you can't go back once you've shaved it, right? So I never really have to clean up the top too much, so I really don't bother with it. My brow hairs are thin enough to where it doesn't really matter, so that's pretty much all I will do. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side, and then let's get started on the makeup part. I like to take little pauses in between when I do the second brow just to make sure that it's somewhat matching up with my other brow. I mean, no two brows are perfectly symmetrical, but I do the best that I can. Okay, now it's time for the fun part, which is when I start to add some brow pomade. So the pomade I'm gonna be using is like the OG tried and true, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow, and I use mine in the color dark brown. The brush that I'm gonna be using to apply the pomade is actually the Anastasia Beverly Hills brush that went with the pomade, but really any brush that's gonna give you a nice precision for your brow, preferably angled. First thing I do, which is something that I have never changed with my brow routine, is I take the brush and I just squeeze, so that way it's giving me even more of a precise line. So I like to, once again, just like brush my brows up and back just to get them nice and clean and to expose the bottom portion of my brow. I want that to be as clean as possible. I like to start in the arch area, so I just apply it right here under my arch, and then I just start to push it back to create the tail end, and then I grab a little bit more product and I start to move forward, but I don't go all the way in here yet. I just kind of build off of this little line right here. So I just very slightly start adding a little bit more. Once I get to the very front of my brow, I like to raise my eyebrow like this, just so I can follow the natural line. What'll happen if you don't do this and you are trying to create more of a brow to go inward is once you raise your eyebrow, it'll look like it's all the way down here, or it'll be all the way up here and it'll look absolutely insane. So my little hack is just to raise your eyebrow and then start to create something a little bit further beyond. You don't want to go too far in because you don't want your eyebrows to be like a unibrow, and I'm actually going to clean some of this up later. So once I feel like that bottom shape is good, I grab a little bit more pomade and I start working on the top. Now I actually don't brush my brow hairs up again when I start doing the top. I like them to kind of just lay naturally. And then when I get to the tip of where the edge of my brow starts to go down, I just very carefully just kind of inch that out. Just fix up any angles. This is where I get really nitpicky. And then once that is done, I start to fill it in. So usually I'll just take any excess product from the bottom of my brow. I raise my eyebrow up just to keep my skin taut, and I just kind of flick it upwards. Notice once again, I'm starting from the middle and going back. I haven't really done too much up here. So just flicking that product, blending it out essentially, and I'm gonna do the same thing to the top, so I'm just kind of pulling it down. Now don't worry, I know this looks a little bit messy. We're gonna clean it all up. What's great about this method of doing your brows is that it is foolproof. You can always go back and clean it up later. It is very forgiving. Like if you mess up, it's honestly all good. So now that I have that rough shape figured out, I'm going to do the same method of blending, but I'm not adding any more product to my brush. So I try to stay as low as I possibly can and just flick up from there. Once again, just blending out that excess product that was there earlier. You want the least amount of product to be at the front, and you want the majority to be at the back, which is why we did not dip back into that dip brow, and that's why I didn't do the top line all the way in, if that makes sense. I do prefer like the ombre effect. So once we have this done, I know this looks crazy, guys, don't worry, it's gonna look beautiful when we're finished, but when we finish that, I like to go with my second Anastasia Beverly Hills product. This is the Dip Brow Pomade. You can tell mine has been through the ringer, but I got this one in the color chocolate. I just grab as much product as I can because I have hit pan and then some with this brow product, but as long as I just have some powder on here, I just take it with this other brow brush. This one's obviously a little bit fluffier, better for powders, and I just kind of fill in. Oh, I really fill in the whole brow, but once again, I start from the middle, I work my way back, I keep the majority of the product concentrated towards the end, and then I'm gonna use whatever's left over towards the front. Really what I'm doing with this is I'm filling in any sparse spots that I feel like need just a little bit more pigment. And then I might go back in with my spoolie just to kind of blend out the front portion a little bit better, just in case I got a little bit too much product up there, which I feel like I did, so that's just one way to fix that. I'm actually gonna go in with some mascara, and this is going to not only keep my brow hairs in place, but it's also going to add a little bit more color, and it's going to look like my brows are thicker. This is actually from the video I did, my $1 full face of makeup with Miss A. Really just any skinny mascara is gonna be great, but I'll show you why I love this one. I'm just going to, once again, start in the middle. We pretty much just start in the middle, go to the back, and then go forward throughout this whole video, but we're gonna start here. And very lightly, I'm not like digging in with this. You don't want there to be too much product. You don't want to get a clump of mascara on there, but you really just want to focus on the actual brow hairs themselves, of course, and just make sure that every single one is getting coated. This just gives it a little bit more of that like bushy eyebrow effect. Once that's done and you're looking like a woolly mammoth, it is time to clean up the brow. So let's move on. I just take this little brush. Honestly, I need to clean it. It is the only brush that I use to clean up my brows, but you can use whatever feels right to you. This is just a normal flat brush. I don't even know what company it's from. Honestly, I couldn't tell you, but it's just like a little flat brush that I can put some concealer on. So the concealer that I use to shape my brows personally is the Stay Naked Correcting Concealer. It's the same one I use to conceal my face, but this one is in a slightly darker color than I use for the highlighting parts of my face makeup. This is in the color 50W. I just take a little bit and put it onto my brush here. I don't get too much product. You want to get just enough on there, so I'll show you what it looks like once I have the concealer on there. So you want to start in the arch. I like to make sure that I put the concealer like far enough away from the brow to where I'm not immediately putting it under the brow, because I've had so many times where I've completely messed this up and then your brow is ruined. So just kind of place it a little bit further away at first so you get your placement right. And then you can move it up slowly but surely until you get it in the right spot, if that makes sense. It's just like a little bit more safe that way. So see, I did it again when I went up this way, and I raised my brow and I kept it away from where the brow starts. And now I'm gonna go back in, get a little bit closer. And now that's much better. So now I just kind of take whatever's left over, continue this line out here, raise my brow again, clean up this portion. Just make sure that it's not too low. And then I just take whatever's left over and I blend it out into my eyelid. Okay, and then we do the same thing with the top portion of the brow. And then we're pretty much done. So same thing, I'm just keeping the product away from the top. Well, where my brow begins. So I'm literally doing like a really rough outline, if that makes sense. I kind of blend it out. Then I get a little bit closer and I clean it up. Now don't worry if you like clean it up too much, like right here, I kind of wish I didn't go down that far. I'll show you how to fix that in a second. And then I just kind of finesse with the back area, just move it up to where I feel like it looks more natural. Okay, I'm gonna grab a little bit more. Clean this up. See how much of the tail I took off? I usually end up doing that, but that's why I like to put a little bit too much at first so that I can really shape the brow when I do the concealer and I can get that perfectly customized look that I want. So see right up here how it kind of dips down a little? I'm gonna fix that really easily. I just take my same brush that had the pomade on it. I don't put anything extra. I just kind of raise it up a little bit. Okay, so now that this brow is pretty much done, I might do some tweaking towards the end, but I'll show you guys that. I'm actually gonna do this brow off camera. I'm gonna start to do the rest of my makeup and I'll show you some little hacks of how to make this just a little bit more natural looking once you have the rest of your makeup on. So I will be right back. So now I have my foundation on and my concealer on, and I'm gonna show you how I blend between the brows right here. And then after I do the rest of my makeup, I'm gonna show you how I just even out these brow hairs one more time. So now I'm taking the slightly lighter concealer that I used to highlight the rest of my face, and this is the same exact one, the Stay Naked by Urban Decay, but this one's in the color 40NY. And I'm just going to put a little dot right in the area where I would normally put my concealer just to brighten up my forehead, but I do drag the excess down, so I'll show you. I just kind of like blend this out. And I blend it into the rest of my foundation. We have no bronzer on or powder or anything yet. And then I just go from the top, right in between the brows, just with whatever's left over, nothing crazy. And I just kind of start to blend. And then I go on the bottom like this. And then if I feel like I want more of an ombre effect towards the top, I kind of just like condense my brush. By the way, this brush is the Real Techniques, I believe it's the concealer brush. I'm not 100% sure. I'll link it down below for you guys, whichever one it is. But I'll just kind of like condense the bristles, and then I'll just go into like the upper corner of my brow, like that. And I'll just add a little bit more of an ombre effect. All right, I'm gonna finish the rest of my makeup and I'll show you guys how I just clean these up at the end. All right, makeup is done. The last thing that I do is just fix these little brow hairs at the top. As you can see, they kind of were a little bit pushed down just from like adding powder and foundation and stuff to my face. So I grab just like a little clean spoolie and I just go back in and clean up the brow hairs. Just a little bit, really careful not to like flake off any of that mascara. And then I grab my mascara one last time. I make sure there's no excess product on here. Like I do not want any big clumps of mascara going on my brow. I'll zoom you guys in here. So very lightly, I just go over the top section. You want to be extremely careful here. Very difficult to clean up your brow once your makeup's already done, so I'm just gonna do it lightly like that. And once you do this last coat, they're not gonna move, obviously. You're not putting anything else up there. All right, babes, so that is absolutely everything. Those are all of my tips and tricks on how to do my brows. Like I said, a lot of these tips are very similar to the tips that I showed in my first and second video, but it's been over a year since I did my last brow routine, so I figured an updated video was necessary. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below. I love you guys so, so much. Before you leave, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications, and give this video a big ass thumbs up. I love y'all, and I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.